Good morning. This is our show about all things immigration beyond the border. My name's Elizabeth Garvish. I am an immigration attorney here in Atlanta, practicing family and business immigration. My law firm is Garvish Immigration Law Group, and I'm with three other immigration experts here locally in the Atlanta metro area, and we're going to go to my right and introduce ourselves.
My name is Eddie Lopez. I have my solo practice, Lopez Lugo Immigration, and I also do family-based immigration and removal defense.
My name is Joanna Delfu. I have my own practice as well. It's Delfu Law Firm located in Cumming, Georgia. I too do removal defense and family, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm Jennifer Bensman. I'm a private attorney at Jennifer Bensman Law. I also do family and removal defense, but I do business immigration too.
Okay, I didn't know you did business. Okay, that's nice. Okay, so we're just going to kind of hit our normal theme to get started off. We have different people from last month. We do the show once a month, every second Saturday morning. So thanks for joining us. But, you know, our theme that we've been kind of touching on recently is immigration after Trump, basically. It's something that I feel like a lot of us immigration attorneys are struggling to advise clients properly, to handle issues, because we just don't know what's coming. We're in a time of basically a war on immigrants. They've definitely put the sign, they've increased this invisible wall through the government actions and, policies and things like that. So I just want to hear from you guys. What have you been seeing in your practices? I don't do the removal work like you do, and I know that's probably the most heart-wrenching type of practice for immigration lawyers because the same type of discretion the judges could give is not there. I mean, what are you all seeing?
I can start. I'm sure this was touched on in previous months, but I think one of the biggest things for us has been the fact that prosecutorial discretion is no longer available and that judges don't have as much discretion to even administratively close a case when a waiver is a possibility. Having that happen, and then now there's the new policies that judges are going to be getting performance reviews based on how quickly they close out their cases. And so the difficulties with requesting a continuance for different applications that are pending with USCIS, the pressure on the judges to move through cases as quickly as possible. And so we don't have time to get the work done that we need to get done. So if we're not admin closing and we're having to push through things as fast as possible, then I feel like we're just tripping over ourselves to get things accomplished, which is just creating so much panic and stress. And in the end, I mean, you could end up just with clients needing to take BD or an order and then having to do waivers from their home country and longer separations from their family. So that's something for me that I'm seeing, in court, and a big change in the past 2 years, year and a half.
What about you?
I am dealing a lot with, I have a lot of family separation cases recently through Catholic Charities. So what I'm seeing is...
Did you mean from children at the border?
Yes.
Okay.
So who are you representing then?
Both the child and the parent.
And where are the parents being detained?
In those cases, everyone has been released.
Detained. They've been released.
Yeah,
okay.
everyone
and
was
the
released.
Kids have they been reunited, or you're still trying to reunite?
No, they're reunited.
Okay.
But just the mess that was caused by that separation, I can see it now, even though they have been released, because they're like, even after months of being released, they're still not in the system in the court, or maybe the parent is in the system and in court in like where they were detained, and then the child like is not on the system. Like it's just a mess. Like they're like, normally when family units come together, they're supposed to be placed together in removal proceedings, and sometimes we will have to like join their cases or decide what is best for them. It's just, so I feel like that like is causing a lot of strain in the families, because they just don't know when they're gonna have court. Like a lot of a lot of people who live in Alabama, like they have court in New Orleans, even though Atlanta's closer, and they're just like, I can't go that far. So it's just a lot of difficulties dealing with those separated families.
So what's a typical scenario that you've seen? Like they, went through this long journey to get to the U.S. to basically request asylum, and then they do that, and then what? And then what happened at the border to like?
So, I mean, what I've been told by them is normally they, as soon as they got there, they were told, like, oh, we're going to send your child somewhere else. They weren't really giving information on where the child was going to be taken, so they had no idea. Then they were still detained for, like, the parent for, like, 2 months, sometimes released with an ankle bracelet, sometimes released just with their signature. And then, then they wait for their kid to be released, which, takes a while because then the kid has been treated as an unaccompanied minor, so they have to do the normal checks through ORR.
Well, and where are you seeing that most of the kids were? Because I knew that so many kids were in foster care and in other states, and where...
So, I mean, normally there were places where they place unaccompanied minors.
Oh, okay.
They were in shelters all over, but far away. I mean, whenever there was capacity.
Right,
so
wherever
like,
they had a bed, so
yeah.
kids were just completely separated, miles and miles from parents.
So, how young were the children?
There's probably kids that were like 2-3 years old.
Okay, imagine that. Okay, you have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old.
I can't even talk about it because I'll cry.
I have 3-year-olds. I mean, there is no way.
No way.
I mean, I could just see my child, like, if they say, oh, they would have to physically rip
They'd have to kill
my
me.
child. Well, I'm just saying, to take my child, they would have to physically rip him from my arms screaming.
I know.
The way they did it is they employed tactics to lure the kids away. I mean, it wasn't like they just said, okay, you go here and you go there. I mean, they had to actually manipulate and, psychological warfare to get the kid away from the adult. It wasn't an easy process like they're waiting in line for Disney World, and got separated.
I mean, I guess, who are all these people that work at CBP and, and all these that can just like, I guess there's these new policies. How are they like, I mean, sometimes you just got to stand up for what's right. I mean, that is not right.
Especially their parents,
everyone knows
too.
that now, but it's like damage to these children has already been done. And I'm sure, like, I mean, even like,
the journey just to get to the country to seek asylum is so traumatizing.
They've gone through
absolute hell, and then they don't understand what's happening, and then to be separated from their parents, it's absolutely unbelievable. They're all going to need counseling and to figure out how to cope with especially like some of the, I think, a little bit older that could kind of process what was happening to them.
There's still children that are separated. I think the number's up until like 400 or so that are unaccounted
they haven't been
for.
reunited. Yeah,
I saw a lady down at the detention center here in Georgia who still does not know where her kid is. So they still have people here who have been separated from their children.
Oh my God.
It's an ongoing problem. It's going to have lasting effects. And I think I read a report in that it's the ones that went into the Department of Family and Children Services that they're trying to adopt out. So not only are they separated, they're trying to rush through adoptions of these children.
So it's really interesting to me, like I just like the dynamic of how I was reading this book, Brene Brown, but we're using by using all these terms that, like all of our politicians are using, Democrats are not human, or Republicans are pigs, or whatever it is, dehumanizing everyone. Illegals, like, if they're an illegal, they're not a human being. So I feel like all this humanity has been taken away. And like, it's just this fight where we're not fighting over human beings and children. It's like they're pigs or they're whoever or whatever, or whoever's representing these people. Yeah. So I feel like, we have to remember, and I think it's important for us to say to everyone, Democrat, Republican immigrants are human beings. Right. They're not illegal. They have feelings so it's like one of those things. I feel like we can't say enough how to, we got to keep the humanity there. And I know it goes away in immigration court. That's why I don't practice there anymore. I remember when I was practicing in Houston, Texas, they would, even at the immigration office, they would treat these people who are maybe not as educated, maybe not as outspoken, just treat them like animals.
I know.
I remember, and Houston doesn't get that cold, but there was a time when my client met me to get a work permit. This is way back. But she had to get her work permit. I think it was TPS or NACAR or something like that, cancellation removal. And so they wouldn't let her in. Long line. It was like the longest line you could ever see. They let me in as the attorney. They wouldn't let her in. It's cold. She doesn't have proper clothing. She has like open-toed shoes, and it's like winter in Houston, but it was still cold outside. And I was just like, okay, they just let her sit out there, and she's got to have her work permit to keep her job. So I was like, okay, just come with me. We'll go back, and we'll come back in the afternoon, and I'll just drive you back all the way 20 miles out to the Houston immigration office, because it's just like, it's one of those things. So I feel like that's one of those issues that I feel like we need to make sure that people understand. And just because there are laws there, they're not always just laws.
Yes.
So sometimes I feel like we still have to keep fighting and standing up for humanity, because as mothers, especially as parents, it's very important. But on another topic, I was reading this about, it's just kind of funny. We can analyze this case or what happened. The Real Housewives of New Jersey. So Joe Guidici, I can't know how you say his name. Basically,
is this the one who's being deported to Italy?
That's not a bad place to be deported to.
I'll be deported to Italy.
But I know, me too. I'm like trying to figure out how to buy a house there. I was like, I've been watching all these shows where you can like buy a house for, however money in some countryside. But yeah, so he, I guess, came to the U.S. as a 1-year-old boy with his parents, was a legal permanent resident. And now he has committed a major crime, which I don't know if it's an aggravated felony.
What was it?
It's some type of
fraud, tax fraud.
Yeah, it is.
He's serving 3 years.
It's over 10,000. It's an aggravated felony.
Yep.
Okay, so he's got aggravated felony, and so aggravated felony means there's no relief.
It would depend on the time, but this is a recent conviction, so no.
Okay.
So he would not be eligible for LPR
basically,
cancellation.
as a matter of law, I think the judge said, as a matter of law, you are removable. I have to order you removed. There's nothing you can say.
No.
There's nothing you can do.
He's not eligible for bond. He's not eligible for immigration bond.
So he's still sitting in jail serving his sentence, but once he
gets transferred to ICE custody, he'll get an order of deportation.
He'll just get removed, and then
yes.
I guess, will he ever be able to come back?
Possibly. He could get a waiver.
After 10 years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But he's going to need a waiver. And,
but, he'd probably be the one who'll get it.
Yeah, that's so true.
Right, because if you have enough ties to the United States, and
well, yes, it seems like he does like several
and
U.S.
money to
citizen
hire
children.
an attorney to keep fighting it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting. But one way to have avoided all of this, he could have, I don't know, did his parents never naturalize? Because if they came at he was 1 year old. They had 18 years or
right.
whatever.
And how old is he? He's in his 50s?
He's 40
something. So, he's had plenty of time to become
naturalize on his own.
Right.
Because if you're a citizen, you're saved from, even though if you commit a crime. I guess there is this new denaturalization task force in place now, but if you're a citizen, then you can avoid this. But
and if his parents didn't become citizens, because I would wonder. Actually, I'd want to know if his parents became citizens and if he could derive citizenship from them.
Yeah, I know there was some. I think we were discussing this online. Everyone was talking because. But
I'm actually curious about that.
Someone should look. I'm obviously
someone's looked into this for him.
Obviously, because obviously, if his parents did become citizens, then he would be automatically a citizen. Just depending on for his passport,
depending on his age, right? Depending on how old he was when they became citizens.
So, but that's really unfortunate.
And if they both
live
live here,
I almost feel sorry for him. He's serving his time in jail. It seems like I feel bad because he's like my whole life's here. Imagine, and that's. This is a big, high-profile story, but there's
this is what we deal with.
This plays out every day,
every single day.
Yeah, any DACA kid came here at 1, 2, 3, whatever. They don't know anything different, but a lot of them are
going back to a country that's not as open-armed and as progressive and economically stable as Italy. They're going back to countries that are in
complete poverty, can't afford to feed themselves.
Disarray. A lot of them don't speak the language. It's like it's the same, but it's completely
different. And he's going to have the means to provide for himself.
Exactly. He has resources.
And ties, yeah. Can we talk about, because I see this video that circulates on social media, and I don't think people understand at all. We know that people don't understand. But there's a video that circulates of a man who's screaming pretty passionately about how he became a citizen, and these DACA kids need to stop crying because it's not difficult to become a citizen.
I've never seen that.
Oh,
I think I know what you're talking about.
but just, I know. Well, I don't know why Facebook started doing this now, but they just automatically play the videos when you're scrolling. You know, I'm like, if I want to click on it, I will click on it. I don't want to see any more of this garbage. But anyway, he's saying, I think equating DACAs with like that millennial argument of, oh, you're just whiny, you don't want to work, you don't want to pay taxes, you don't want to become a citizen, you don't want to do the hard stuff, and they're not eligible for citizenship, and nobody understands that.
I mean, what was this guy? I mean,
he became a naturalized citizen, so he just thinks that it's not difficult.
Well, maybe he married somebody or...
Right, and he maybe entered with a visa, he got his green card, and then he could become a citizen in 3 years, but that is not the procedure for most people.
Right.
DACA kids cannot just become citizens. That's what everyone's talking about. That's why we're all upset. They have no other option, most of them. And it blows my mind. You know, we're using terms here as if everyone understands what naturalized means, but you know, there's different ways to become a citizen. I was born in the United States, so by birth I'm a United States citizen. But if you weren't born here, you have to get your citizenship another way. One of them's naturalizing, but you have to have a green card first. You have to be eligible for a green card to get a green card. Not everyone's eligible. It's difficult to get a green card. It's difficult to become a permanent resident. You need family ties. You need someone who can petition for you. You have 20-something year-long wait times. It's not a simple process, and people do not understand that.
I had a call I was kind of, and it just made me sad because I was like, so it was a call from a young woman, and she's on DACA. She entered legally in the country, and she's on a visitor visa, but then got DACA and had an overstay of past her 18th birthday of about a year. I guess she got DACA about 19, so she's got
unlawful presence of a year. So then she's got the 10-year bar.
10-year bar, but she had an employer willing to sponsor for a green card. You know, and I kind of had to say, gosh, you know, the only option she has, since she did enter legally, she can marry a U.S. citizen, or have a child, like a petitioner in 21 years.
In 21 years. Have a baby. When you're 40, you can apply for a green card.
Yeah, there's not a lot of options for people. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like even we've got, you know, I feel like if we could maybe just soften that unlawful presence rule.
Oh my gosh.
Everything would change. We have this, if you
bring back 245I. I mean,
yeah. And that would be income to the...
Just pay a fine. I mean, I could solve the immigration problem if they ask me.
Yeah.
Please. Will everyone please call Jen, please?
But yeah, I mean, if you just bring back 245I and just make it a penalty for everyone who's overstayed.
They're just going to say it's an amnesty.
It's not an amnesty because
you still have to prove that you're eligible.
You still need a petitioner.
You still need a petitioner. You still have to prove you haven't been convicted of a serious crime. You still have to prove that you're not going to become a public charge.
I'm just wondering why, and I don't know about, and I know, why don't we get some good advisors to like Congress
I don't understand.
the president about immigration?
Well, you know, I mean, it depends on your definition of good, right? Because right now, a lot of people think that they have good. You know that one of our DHS attorneys is actually there. As one that was here in Atlanta
Tracy Short and
what's his name?
Gene.
What was his last name? How can I not remember this?
Just give me a minute.
Yeah, I can look it up. But one of our DHS attorneys that we were up against in the Atlanta Immigration Court a few years ago is there as counsel for Jeff Sessions.
Well, I mean, the EOIR head was DHS.
A former DHS.
Yeah. Here.
So, I mean, they have what they consider to be good counsel, but that's people that work for the government that don't see the human side. Right, law enforcement counsel. It's not a healthy balance.
Well, that's the same thing that happens with most immigration judges. They don't come from
private practice.
Right.
They're coming from...
Yeah, they were the people who tried to get people deported in court.
Yeah.
So, like, their mentality, they don't understand any other mentality than, we have to get them out as soon as possible. Like, even that, like, and and talking about the immigration court, I mean, like a lot of people don't understand the immigration court is an administrative court of the Department of Justice. Like it has no independence from the Attorney General. Like what's going on right now, like a lot of people don't realize, like Jeff Sessions is doing a lot of harm right now because he's literally taking cases from the Board of
And referring
Immigration,
them to himself.
referring the cases to himself and literally rewriting everything.
He's rewriting law.
Yeah, he's like literally like taking away the independence of judges to terminate proceedings,
How
to
is this
admit
happening?
close. Like
How do you
literally,
refer cases to yourself?
don't letting judges like approve asylum for like domestic violence. So like I mean, he's rewriting immigration laws like just because he can.
Without congressional action.
Yeah, so
Right.
we need
That's
an independent
everything.
court.
That's these tactics that are happening now. I mean, they're underhanded. I mean, you know, they set. I mean, many presidents have done executive orders. I mean, they were saying the executive orders that Obama did, which were pretty helpful in many ways.
Right.
You know, that's all Trump's doing now. This is all executive orders, everything. Because Congress cannot come together. They're too busy dehumanizing each other
Yep.
to even come
Have
together.
the healthy
and,
conversation and fix the problem.
I just don't, and you know what? It's been like this for, I mean, ever since I think I've been practicing law.
I mean, when was the last major reform? 96? And that was a bad one.
It's horrible.
Like that made like the permanent bar.
Yeah.
Like all this stuff.
Aggravated felonies.
Falsely claiming to be a U.S. citizen is completely unforgivable now.
Yeah.
Ever. For your
Oh,
entire
that's
life.
another one. I know.
That one kills me. That kills me.
I know. I just sat across somebody.
How
the
is
other
that
day,
unforgivable?
And I'm like,
Seriously.
and she's like, yeah, I think it might have marked U.S. citizen, or the person marked it on my application. Well, you know, at the driver's license agency, and sure enough, we checked. Then I have another lady, which she's from France. She just completely, her husband told her, you can register to vote now. And she voted.
have one.
Yeah,
She voted.
I get a
We
lot
got
of
all
them.
the records. Oh, really?
That happened a lot. When
I
was
have
at
an accidental vote.
at Catholic Charities.
I mean, an accidental register, but not a vote.
Have you ever been able to do a naturalization with somebody who did vote?
Yes.
We got her off the we got her off the rolls and
Yeah.
Really hard.
It's really, really hard, and you have to have like the stars have to line up, and the moon has to be in the right setting, and you just get that right officer. And it's the sweetest client, and she explains, you know, like I was in high school, and everyone else was registering to vote, and so they
Right.
said, "Why not you?" Okay,
Right.
me too. And you know, she goes out and she votes, and never even dawns on them. And then until they go to naturalize. And
I
so,
know.
you know.
I know. That's what happened. I have one right now, but he
Yeah.
didn't vote, but he registered.
Yeah.
But he emailed me and said, I'm reading on the questionnaire about this. Did you ever claim to be a U.S. citizen? But he thought he was a citizen for a long time because he thought he derived it from his parents. Okay. And so I mean, but you just have to beef up the good character. And like you're saying, it all depends on your client's demeanor. You want to prep them for the interview.
Right.
Make sure that they're
Right.
And then most of the time, it's not their fault. Like they go to get their driver's license,
And
and
the
person's like, check.
They're offered,
Right.
Like, they offer, like, do you want to
Check
register
here
to
to register to
vote?
vote.
They think
right.
that means they can.
Oh, on the online, I saw that
It's
on the. I
awful.
was like just renewing my driver's license after 10 years because I was like, I don't want to be part of this. I'm gonna
Yeah.
take myself out. I mean, I'm already registered to vote, but
You think if someone asks you if you're an immigrant,
Yeah.
you're thinking, it's, okay, well, they're saying I can.
Yeah.
You know,
Totally.
They really.
you've got to really be on your toes, yeah, because you feel like, oh, this person at the driver's license agency should know. They
Right.
said that they need all these documents or they can't.
Right.
And I brought everything. I was like, and she's like, stop giving me stuff. I was like, okay, but I had this client come in the other day. I mean, they were mad. She was from Italy as well, and she was in the military, and she's older now.
here or there.
She was here in,
US
the
okay.
U.S.
Yeah.
Army.
Okay.
As a teenager, I guess. Came here very young. Didn't think to naturalize until now. Married to U.S. citizen, and I'm sure she has U.S. citizen. But there was on her application, she filed on her own. On her application, she, I guess, she had a reprimand. She was honorably discharged, but there was like a reprimand where she went down a rank because it was like, I think, a pot thing on, at the base. So like everyone got a reprimand and it was like she got down, whatever it was. I looked what it was. It wasn't like a court martial or wasn't anything like that. It wasn't a real proceeding. It was kind of like an administrative reprimand. But she went back up, like she went on to serve and everything was fine. But on her naturalization application, she marked And then have you ever been, I guess, arrested?
The one about like arrested, cited, charged, all that.
She said, I guess she marked no.
No, because
And then when he asked her, like, I feel like he was laying in wait. When he asked her, have you ever been arrested? Blah, 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 whatever. And then she's like, well, you know, then he like started to distract her about the marriage license. And then he pulled out a affidavit that you have to sign that says you've never been court-martialed, whatever it is in the U.S. military.
You have to sign something.
Yeah, sworn statement.
Yeah.
So I just signed a sworn statement, and then he kind of got him out of the office, and then they got a denial based on false testimony at the interview. Like, the rest means nothing for good moral character that happened 30 years ago or whatever. I mean, that means nothing. I mean, she just needed to admit it. But now false testimony, I don't think she can ever overcome that. I had another one that had false testimony at a visa interview. I think it was 2 naturalization applications later and an appeal. There's no way. We stopped.
what was her reasoning for signing something that's saying?
She's like, what does it matter? She kind of was like, why would it matter? Because I was honorably discharged. I'm like,
you should
it
have been
matters.
honest.
You should have hired a lawyer.
Yeah, that's why. That's why. I mean, a lot of people think immigration is just forms. You fill out
Oh my
forms.
gosh, no.
And that's one of the things that bothers me the most because I mean, it's not just forms. It's most of the work that immigration attorneys do is preparing the evidence that goes with the forms. And now with the new policies,
than ever.
like if you file an application on your own and you just you don't submit all the documents, you not only are going to get denied straight up, like they could put you in removal proceedings. Like
Yeah.
I mean, and like just thinking it's something so easy, it's going to end up costing you a lot of money. And in many times, especially here in Atlanta, like it's probably going to cost you to be deported because you probably don't have relief in many cases. So like you have to hire an attorney. It's even if it's more expensive for you, it's going to be cheaper at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you need to. I think everyone should have an attorney right now. There's too many. Yeah, it's too rough out there right now. Too many risks. I'm very worried because we've got officers like this USCIS officer that's gonna lie in wait and get you. Mm-hmm. We've got officers at the service centers that are gonna are just waiting to like find some way, because I think that they're rewarded for these things as the denial rate, the RT rate. I think they're rewarded based on those things. So,
well, my client had said to me, I don't even remember. It was a really bad time in his life. His dad had just passed away. Like I said, he thought for a period of time he was a U.S. citizen. There was a kiosk, like you said something about. I just was told to do it. I was a teenager.
Someone else did it.
There was a kiosk in, the lobby of where he worked, and his bosses were like, "Everybody, go make sure you register to vote." So he just goes down there, and he just doesn't even remember. Just like us. I mean, I was telling him I understand that because I barely remember stuff I did 7-8 years ago. And this was 20 something years ago for him. But he said, I don't even remember if I finished the application. I don't remember ever having a voter registration card. I know I never voted. But, I understand that. But he said, so do we have to say yes to this? And I'm like, absolutely, we're saying yes to this because they will find it and they will bring it up. And then it will be false testimony. So we're honest. We do an affidavit. You explain it honestly in the interview. You come looking nice. You're honest about absolutely everything, and that's how we're going to handle the case.
Yeah, and
you don't check no and just hope that it's not there.
Misrepresentations at misrepresentations at a visa interview can also be issues.
Even if they're not material.
Yeah,
that's the issue.
I don't have a boyfriend in the U.S. at all. I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, you just lied to the officer. Audra, do you recommend that anybody who can become a U.S. citizen apply right away? Are there some people who should be careful of applying?
Is this our Audra Doyle?
Yeah, Audra.
Hey, Audra.
Hey, Audra.
Wish you were here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like really important if you're qualified to be a citizen, it's probably a good idea.
Go get a consult.
Get
a consultation with an immigration attorney.
An AILA member, immigration attorney, someone reputable. Sit down, pay the consult fee, ask all your questions.
Yes.
Like I do, I have a checklist or like a red flags lists, like
Yes.
kind of go through that.
Yes.
And
Over taxes, child
it's like,
support.
people are like, yeah,
criminal
I owe
convictions.
child support. Oh, yeah, I haven't paid my taxes. Oh, yeah, I
Right.
had a few arrests.
Right.
Like, so we got to get all those.
Right. Let's slow down. We're not filing an M400 right now.
Yeah.
They're
So
not,
in those
they're not game
cases,
stoppers. They just
No,
need to be
no.
fixed before
Analyzed,
Yeah.
fixed.
So you have to be honest at your
well,
consultation.
yeah, I mean, you can't.
Please don't lie to
On
me.
every application, yeah.
And-
They're going to do your fingerprints and your biometrics. So,
I mean, and something really important when you do a citizenship consult is checking how you got your green card.
Yes.
Because maybe you
It's
got
Pandora's
your green
box.
card and you shouldn't have gotten it, and
Right.
then that could open a bunch of difficult stuff.
So here you are, you're a green card holder. You go to naturalize. They deny you because you shouldn't have been a green card holder. You're going to get a
And then
notice
they-
to appear
And you're
in
gonna lose your
immigration
green
court. You're going to go to deportation
Yeah, so I
proceedings and you can
always-
get deported.
I always advise like my employment-based cases, and sometimes we've got portability, and sometimes, there might be that like sometimes they get laid off before they work as a green card holder, but they worked, or sometimes the company closes. I mean, it happens. So there's got to be a story behind it. But if you never have worked for your employment-based sponsor, that could be an issue. But with portability, it happens because you can port to a new employer. But I always like advise people about that. But yeah, I mean, with I forgot what I was just going to say, but I was going to say something else.
Well, if,
but,
if you can become a citizen, you should, because then you can
yeah.
vote. You
Yeah.
can register to
Oh.
vote and vote.
yeah, I think if you can't get a consult,
If you're eligible
Yeah.
after a consult, if the attorney tells you this is the time to do this, let's get it done, then do it.
yeah, and you know,
just wanna make sure you're
sometimes
not
I will tell
rushing
my
it.
client, I would say they've got. I mean, it's a risk right now. They've got a DUI in the statutory period, or they've got, and I've had those approved, but I feel like we're seeing some denials based on
I know.
the convictions in the statutory period, which is the 5-year or 3-year required time to be a legal permanent resident. So, I mean, I've advised people, hey, safer just to wait. And now, I mean, unfortunately, it takes a year to get your naturalization interview,
Right.
at least locally. And I have cases right now. I'm considering doing mandamus, and we've never really filed any, but we're going to start.
See, that's what I was just talking about in another consult. I mean, because they filed citizenship in 2016.
I've got one that's pending right now, and he wanted to go to one more info pass, and then we're going to
Like
discuss the
they
mandamus.
didn't get interviewed.
So this is just the consult, and it was actually, it was one of those consults where one person comes in for a consult, and then as they're leaving, they go, "Hey, can I ask you a quick question for like my mother-in-law? She's home, but she told me to ask you." So then you always have to be really careful in those situations because you just have to give a one-sentence answer or something because, we're not talking to that person. We can't properly advise them. Just to compare, that's like me going to my doctor and then on my way out the door saying, "Oh, by the way, my mom has been having some pain in her chest. Do you think she should have heart surgery?" The doctor would be like, "Whoa, we got to do blood work. We got to have her come in. I need to talk to her. I need to find out about her symptoms." So that's kind of how we get thrown under the bus as immigration attorneys. We're given way too much. People want way too much information from us on a dime, and we need time to analyze. But her mother-in-law had a NATS interview in 2016. I think she filed in 20. No, the first interview was in 2016. So she must have filed in like 2015.
And it fell into a black hole.
But then she's still traveled and just kind of been waiting because she doesn't understand what's going on. And then while she was out of the country, she got called for a second interview. So she flies back, spends $2,000 or whatever, gets back rushed, goes in for a second interview, and they go, "Oops, our bad. Well, you weren't supposed to come in for a second interview. We don't know why we called you for this. Go home and we'll send you." But she was told, and this is all y'all, I don't know, obviously, because I didn't actually talk to the woman, but apparently she was told at the first interview that she was being approved. Mm-hmm. So
It's just stuck. That's a mandamus right there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, but I told her do an info pass and then you need to talk to an attorney about it. I've never done a mandamus. I mean,
Yeah,
I've
we're
gone
gonna
to some of the CLEs on them, and I think it might be a time for us to just be whipping these things
We're gonna
out.
After
start
6
doing
months,
them.
right?
Yeah.
6 months,
It's
120 days.
ridiculous.
I mean, I'm offering clients, but sometimes they don't want to pay the extra money for that because I'm not,
But it normally works. Like
Yeah.
you get a
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah,
At
but
least-
you have to be careful that
Right.
the client is telling you everything or there's
Right,
not some.
because they might just deny it,
They
and
might
then
just
they're going to
deny it.
get
You might rush a
NTA'd.
denial.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they might be holding it for a reason.
Yeah.
But most of the time they're not. Most of the time they're just,
It's a black hole.
It is.
No.
There's
Because
just
I've had
somewhere it
so
goes.
many like that, and I've had so many like responses from the officers that are just like, "Oh," and he's like, "Yeah, these are falling into a black hole," and I'm like,
Thanks for confirming that.
Info pass. They don't tell you anything.
But I've seen that happening.
It's
a
like,
lot.
oh yeah, these are. Yeah.
That's happening a lot with people from like the countries where the travel ban.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like they just like put in so many security clearances that they
Right.
just never adjudicate
Right.
the
I mean,
citizenship.
how long does it take to do a security clearance? I mean, obviously there's a problem with our security clearance if it takes 2 years.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah. So I have another question about so I had someone come in and they've got their Nats. I mean, I was mostly worried about the English language issue because her English is not that great, but I think she's going to be okay. But she filed for asylum from China, I guess, based on the policy, one child policy. She has
Okay.
children.
This is a long time ago.
6
That's
months
how she
ago,
got her.
she got
Okay.
asylum.
Okay.
But she's traveled twice to China. So have you all, and I don't do a lot of asylum.
Right.
What do you guys see in naturalization interviews when an asylee has traveled? I know there's not really a prohibition there, but asylees travel back to their country, and maybe that policy is no longer in place, I guess.
it's still in place.
it is the
But it
one-child
depends
policy.
on the basis of the asylum.
Right.
I don't even know.
If it's persecution based on, like, it depends on what it is. If you're afraid of your social group because the government's actively persecuting you, if you can't go back safely, and if you enter into the same area, that will eliminate the need for asylum. But the one-child policy, I don't know. I mean, it's been so long since she's had a child, like, I don't think that would be. In that circumstance, I would say it's probably not going to be an issue, but be prepared to argue it. It depends on the circumstance and the
Because
basis
we
for
don't
their
have,
asylum.
because
Yeah.
they filed.
Affirmative or
They filed them. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't.
Oh,
I would have to
okay.
get a FOIA of the
Yeah,
whole
you have to
case.
do the
Like our
FOIA.
interview
Yeah,
is
she-
coming up.
Oh God. And she doesn't have anything that she had filed.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've got to probably call them back in. But
it's risky. Yeah, it's. I've heard it's risky from other people. Like, I mean, they can
You have to be
revoke
prepared.
your asylum.
Yeah, they can revoke the underlying
Yeah.
status. But if the
It
country
depends, yeah, it
conditions
depends,
have
yeah.
changed and
Yeah.
whatnot, and I know China, because I did I'm talking about the Facture case, but recently the Chinese government has changed and backed off a little bit on the one-child policy. So if that was the reason, if you get a copy of that law, how they backed off on it, well, then she's safe to travel there.
Right.
You know?
well, I guess when she's already become a green card holder, I mean, from asylum, I mean, like her children are now here. Like, are they? Does China care that you've already had one? I mean, like, I guess, and I don't know how that happened, but because I guess the third child was born in the U.S. I don't even know. Like, I'm not even sure. I'd have to look at that. And it's coming up, and like she filed on her own.
Oh.
So it's kind of one of those things where we might want to.
But these are things that we never had to think much about before. And
Yeah.
now you have to think of everything.
Yeah, and I didn't. I was
Mm-hmm.
focused on some other things, and I woke up like that night. So I was like, oh wait, because
No,
I
it's
had
so
to,
true.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. I was always thinking of all these things. If we don't, I feel this is how I feel all the time. If I'm not perfect, something's gonna
Mm-hmm.
go wrong with this case, and I'm not perfect.
No, we can't.
So-
and especially right now.
But we
because so
certainly
much
try.
is-
I mean, I'm sure
Oh, of
lawyers
course.
are like trying to be on top of everything, but there's so much you've just got to
There's
be
so
aware.
much, every
especially
single
in immigration
case.
law, everything could just
Every
go down
single
the
case.
drain with one little thing. It's crazy, but yeah.
But I think that plays into the things that are going on in the immigration court. I mean, I feel like, I've been practicing this for almost 20 years, and I kind of knew what the rules are. And every time I go in, I feel like I'm going in, and I know the rules to play baseball, and now we're playing football.
Right.
It's so, like, out of left field that I don't know the process and the procedure, and everything is so different, changes on a dime.
So
It's really a
it's
challenge.
happening that way at the immigration service.
Yeah.
They're like, I mean, just for the InfoPass policy.
Oh gosh.
So there's like InfoPass. Basically, you don't have it. You did that live on Facebook. Like, basically,
It's
there's
just, but because people think, I mean, it's common sense. Like, if I don't know where my green card is, I could just call someone and be like, hey, where's my green card? I see it was mailed.
Yeah.
No, you can't actually.
Oh, when that
There's a lack
happens-
of customer service, and
that's why I'm always like, please, let's try to get this adjudicated in the interview. Like, let's make sure we've got everything.
I know.
was-
What do you need? What do you need?
I was so mad at myself because I didn't tell. I was focused on something else, and like I didn't tell my client. I just forgot to remind them to do a new medical, and because now medicals expire. Medical
Right.
exams expire in
After 1 year.
and it takes over a year to get your interview.
So then, but because, especially like we were talking about before the show, because the new policy that they may not issue RFEs and notices of intent to deny anymore, there's a concern that if you don't submit some people, this was never my policy. I always submitted a medical exam with the original application because I didn't want an RFE for that, or I didn't want any confusion.
I always did it,
Me
but
too.
now I'm not.
Well, some people don't because
It's going to go stale.
it's just going to go stale. There's
Yeah.
absolutely no point. You need to do it again. But now I've just seen on the listservs that some attorneys are saying, I'm just going to do it anyway
No.
because they're worried they're going to not going to get an RFE.
That's
No, not
in
for
the-
that.
No, not for that.
Okay, that's
That
good
won't
to
happen.
know.
It's in the instructions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
There's an exception for that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it wouldn't make any sense.
no, because they do go stale, and then you have to redo the medical exam.
Yeah.
And it costs money.
Right.
You know,
it's several $100s.
Yeah.
Go, but go ahead, because you were saying that you went and you didn't do another medical at the interview.
Well, I didn't do another. I mean, I didn't. I just, I'm supposed to be advising my clients. We were so worried about this case, about so many other issues. So that was like, I forgot to say one thing. And I usually send in, like for all my employment based, I have an email that I send out. But, this was a family based. We sat down, we were talking about all this.
All the
everything.
issues, right.
But I had one case that was really interesting that I'm still waiting to hear about. So it is my marriage, it's a marriage based case. I mean, they're both like the same age. 40 something, and both from the same place in China. They work right next door to each other, and it's second and third marriage, I guess. And I know them. But we filed the application, and then we got our interview in 3 months. And then we're preparing for that. I mean, I know it's a bona fide marriage. Then they tell me that he was married, and they applied for asylum, and so she's the petitioner. So
Okay.
the wife's the petitioner, and the husband had an asylum application. He was a dependent on his ex-wife's asylum application.
Okay.
So the ex-wife, I guess, married before they separated, and then filed an I-45, an adjustment. And then he married later and filed. And then they withdrew the asylum, I guess. They share a child. We got called in back 3 months early, back to back. So we had one officer that interviewed the ex-wife and the husband. And we're still, I'm like, of course they're suspecting marriage, I guess, divorce fraud. Maybe they divorced each other fraudulently and we're going to remarry after. I don't even know. It was the worst interview I'd ever been. I mean, and plus we had to have a translator. But it was the worst. But I'm still waiting to hear. I told the applicant, I'm like, they will probably be doing a fraud investigation. They'll probably be coming by the house. They'll be watching you. I mean, or whatever they do with fraud. They have to do there's fraud investigators that do that. She's like, that's fine, because then it's,
because they got a divorce and they both married citizens. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I
But
guess
just
so.
Yeah.
I've never seen that. But I mean, I'm like, and I've been fooled maybe once with fraudulent marriage that, like the client, I'll never do that again. But, because most of the time, most of my clients are very, they're either like referrals from employment based or they're, that marriage is a real marriage and I don't have that issue too much that I have to screen, you know. But I had one that turned out pretty bad. But this is somebody I've known for 10 years, in another part of my life. And this is her marriage. And I've helped her do immigration and other things. So I can't imagine she would risk anything in her life to help, to do a fraudulent marriage. So, but still, the fact that, I'm like, how does this play out? How do I advise the clients?
Right.
And I'm just like, we got to go.
And it may be one of those that's just now going to sit there because they don't know what they think.
Yeah.
Were you called for a second interview?
No.
I think that's a lot of why these ones sit, because they don't know what to do.
Right.
I honestly
No,
think
it's
that's
true.
why they go into the
I
black
had one
hole, that
naturalization.
they can't move forward or backwards.
Yeah.
They can't make a
Right.
decision.
Well, you've got to have somebody do it. That's why you need to do the Mendes. But I had one naturalization. It sat over a year. And it basically, every time I go to the info pass, then, it was like, oh, it's pending. And then they told me, oh, it's on the denial shelf. I'm like, okay,
actual
well then.
shelf
What's a
for that?
denial shelf?
There's a shelf for denials. Yeah.
Why don't they just deny it? Why do
I
they
know,
do a
that's what
shelf?
I said. Then I waited another 3 months. I'm like, where's the denial? Okay, if it's going to get denied, fine. Why?
Do it. And,
And then, then finally I got one
See, I'll point
officer.
and laugh at 'em.
There's one officer that pulled the file. There's one officer who's no longer there, who had pulled files and got things done for me at one info pass. I was like, oh my gosh, I love you. But I got it turned. I said, this should be approved. because I think they were saying the marriage from 18 years ago or whatever that he got his green card through, they're now divorced. It was not valid. When we basically had a 13-year pending I-751 that I filed for him, and I finally, he had this file like this long, like it was just a mess. But we got the 751 approved, and we immediately filed Nats. So it's not, there's no more, they wanted more evidence of the marriage from, tax transcripts from 2003. I'm like, okay. So we, I provided what I could. And at that time, there was still a conversation I could have with the NAT supervisor. But
those days are gone.
But no. But now I got it approved. I got it turned around from the denial. So they got it on the supervisor desk. Somehow I was like, thank God. But I didn't know what to tell this guy. I was just like, oh my gosh, your case is going to get denied. But it's not.
When you talk about InfoPass, I just have to laugh because just the process to actually get an appointment, you have to stay up till 12:01 at night, which
I never can.
You told me about that because I was like, how come there's never InfoPasses?
Never.
You have to wait. So 12:01. So like, here's me going to bed at 10 o'clock and setting my alarm for midnight to get up. To get an appointment.
I just tell my clients to do it.
But that's so ridiculous, though.
The last time my client, I was like, I'm going to meet you there because I got 30 minutes to discuss cases. But she left before I even got there. I was like, lady.
Yeah.
And then my other client got one. I was like, can you stay up until midnight and I'll come with you.
Yeah.
And then he gets it at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't do 7
but
a.m.
What system is that to get your appointment to see about your case that you have to
I know, they laugh at me. I'm like, well, can you play? I just tell my clients they have to stay up till midnight, and they're like, what? Okay.
No, I know. You feel like it's a joke. I have actually told, in the consult I was just talking about with that Nats for the mother-in-law, I said to the girl, this sounds ridiculous. I can't even believe this. The words are coming out of my mouth, but you guys are going to have to stay up until midnight. I mean,
to get an appointment.
And
I was so happy when I get one at 12.
Oh, I know.
I'm just like, I gotta call someone. I got one. And then I get there, nothing happens.
That is just not the time that I fall. I cannot. That midnight time is just so hard for me.
Oh, it wasn't
I'll
easy.
wake up maybe.
No, it's
at-
not easy.
Oh,
but
I'll wake up at 4, but I just.
I stay up. I just stay up until midnight.
Of course, I would stay up, but I never
Because I'm worried I
I
wouldn't
never
wake
make
up.
it. I never make it
I
till
know.
midnight.
I see there's a whole line of business here. I think teenage boys. I have teenage boys.
Yes.
I think this would be a perfect job for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they're up.
We should actually have an InfoPass schedulers that we pay.
Yeah.
It's, $7-8 an hour for them to sit up.
My kids are in.
Okay.
I'll call you when mine
I'll
are too
call
young. My son can't. My son could probably operate the iPad better than I do, but.
Oh yeah, I'll call you the next time I need. I need one now because this other guy didn't even. Now they're only 15 minutes. They changed the policies.
No, I know. 15 minutes that you get to talk to an officer.
Well, I'm not that shocked about it because I have never spent more.
No, that's true.
Than
I don't
5
actually
minutes in
spend
there.
that much
They
time.
don't do.
I
do
usually
anything.
bring 10 cases, and when it was 30 minutes,
yeah,
we used to be you get 3 appointments. So you talk about 3 cases,
Right.
And then once you have your 4th, can I just ask you about the no? And then then it was 30 minutes. I'm like, that's gold. I'll bring all my cases and go through all of them.
Yeah.
I'm here.
They figured that. I know.
One of those cards?
That's what. Yeah, and then then they caught on to that. I guess now it's 15 minutes.
One case. Sorry.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Could've just
literally,
ended
they've
soon.
never spent more than 2 minutes with me. They're like, it's being processed. I'm like, that's so unhelpful. And that's just.
I've actually had really helpful InfoPass appointments.
Yeah, I have too.
I've had some good ones, and then recently I went to check on one, the green card. That one's a referral, and then my DACA got approved. And I just asked the guy, listen, I just want to know what's going on in this one. I've sent multiple case inquiries. It's been pending for a year and a half at this point, and that one had a lot of stuff in it that it was. He was definitely eligible, or I wouldn't have filed, but it was risky because of some issues there. And I just, it was. I was probably the thickest DACA I've ever mailed. It was probably this thick with good character documents. I just wanted it to be perfect. And anyway, that day he checked it. He goes, oh, well, let me check it. And then he did a little bit more digging, He was like, oh, it was approved yesterday. So then they printed out the approval notices for me so that I could have them to give to my client. I thought, thank you.
Okay.
It wasn't even like, you'll get it in the mail. He goes, hold on, I'll print them for you so you can give them to the client. I thought, well, that's really helpful.
I've just never had that experience.
Well,
Sorry.
Yeah, me neither.
I had one. One time I was like, and now this is if there's ever a rescheduling you have to do. So, we had this time, Trump got into office, I guess, and just processing times just, lengthened. But I told my client, it's probably 4 or 5 months till your interview. No, it's not. It's 9 year,
it's a
whatever.
year.
So they had their foreign wedding, like they planned it out. I'm like, I'm sure it's gonna be fine. You're gonna have your green card by then. They planned their wedding, and like right in the middle of the wedding, trip is their interview. So we had to reschedule it. So I do all of the things that you have to do to reschedule, follow all the, and then I'm like, I better check out the InfoPass. Not rescheduled. So I had the guy get the file and do it at InfoPass. I was like, that's the only way I'm going to reschedule this. And everybody listen to that, because everything else that I did per USCIS policy or whatever, it was like you had to do some random thing. I went through liaison. I did all that. It's still not rescheduled. So they would have denied the case.
Yeah, because you didn't show up.
And we would have had to do like a motion to reopen, which would just...
And it could have been pending, and it could have been lost on somebody's
in a past
desk.
life, we probably could have gotten them, like, when we had Connie there, who retired, wonderful officer that was always helpful with our ALA liaison. We could have gotten it reopened.
But think
without
about people
the fee.
who don't have counsel. I mean,
how do they even operate this system?
When I see somebody,
I don't understand it.
I see somebody who got something done by themselves. I'm like, I feel like hiring them as a
I
paralegal.
know.
I'm just like,
How did you do it?
Yeah.
I know. I had a guy come in. They got an H-1B. I mean, they kind of didn't do it like the right way, but they actually got two receipts. They got 2 receipts and 2 approvals, which I'm like, you took away one of our H-1B numbers. But they filed it on their own. But then they've been consulting with me like ever since on everything. But I was like, wow, that's great, and gotten the cap. But there's we're gonna take a break in 5 minutes. But I think when we come back, I want to talk about like some of these new policies that are the roadblocks, the invisible wall. And I was like, one comes to mind that I see a lot through my liaison through Vermont Service Center and just people coming in. But now if you want to change from a visitor to a student, you file this application to change from visitor to student, and it takes probably a year and a half maybe, but you have to maintain your underlying B status.
Visitor status.
So you've got to do an I-539, change of status to
J1?
No,
Or F?
F to F. You've got to do that application. And then if you've got, however many more months of B, you got to do an underlying B. And then that one might run out, and you do another underlying B. So you got to make sure.
I haven't had to do any of these. I
just got one approved, but I'm like, why would you? I said just go back to your country. But
So you're having to do like multiple I-539s at once, like one to extend, one to change.
And I'm like, make sure that's on the
change.
calendar, because if we forget that word, Trump, that ruins the whole case. You've been waiting for a year.
But how do you plan and attend school? Because you have
How
to.
do you plan if you have her waiting a year?
Well, that's what I was saying. Like,
Yeah.
if you have to wait that long, like if you have to register and get in and get accepted for that school year, and that school year passes, what do? You have to defer it, and
Yeah.
how does the
This
funding?
guy was in
and-
English language, and I just told him he needs to start me. And then then there was this question that came up: when can he start? When can he start in the next semester? Or,
Yeah.
because it's kind of approved.
Yeah.
It was approved in August, so. But I just said you better. I mean, I don't know what SEVIS violation that is, but you
and
better.
they'll pick up on that in a second, and when you go through service.
Yeah, if he's
triggered right away.
because he's gonna try to stay in the country for a while and do like bachelor's and all that stuff. So he's got to maintain his status, and he's got like an I-130 pending with his dad, but it's going to be a long time. So I guess he wants to stay until then. I don't even know. But anyway, we're about to take a break. So that kind of policy I want to talk about, which a lot of things kind of seem crazy. And why do we do it?
Why are we immigration lawyers again?
Why do they do it? Anyway, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back in a few minutes, 5 minutes.